my advice would be something like stay creative if you're doing hacking, because most good hackers are really creative minds. I've been trying also to apply that in my work and trying to connect with creative people. That really helped me. I would advise people to collaborate with others. You will learn and you will teach at the same time.
The hacker spirit is like sharing information and teaching the community at large. Definitely don't be afraid to reach out to people and just have a conversation.
Hi, I'm Kyser Clark, and welcome to The Hacker's Cache, the show that decrypts the secrets of offensive security one bite at a time. Every week I invite you into the world of ethical hacking by interviewing leading offensive security practitioners. If you are a penetration tester, bug bounty hunter, red teamer, or blue teamer who wants to better understand the modern hacker mindset, whether you are new or experienced, this show is for you.
Hello, welcome to the Hacker's Cache. My name is Kyser Clark, the host of the show. I have 6 years of cybersecurity experience and I currently work as a full-time penetration tester. In today's episode, I have Nouha Ben Brahim, who was programming in Python for 7 years, then turned into a freelance bug bounty hunter. She's been doing that for over 2 years now, and then also started and founded No Breach, which was founded last year. For certifications, Nouha has the EC Council Digital Forensics Essentials, that's a DFE, and the Cisco Certified Network Associate, that's the CCNA. She is an author and a speaker, and she is also the host of the Hackers Line podcast. And I'm a little biased here, but I was on episode number 2, and it was a great episode. Definitely listen to that episode. If you are interested in other hacking podcasts, I highly recommend it. She's got more episodes on the way, and I really enjoyed episode 1 as well, the one episode I wasn't on. So definitely always on the lookout for more cybersecurity content. So definitely check that out if you are interested in hacking podcasts. So Nouha, thanks for joining in the show. Thanks for doing this with me. Go ahead and unpack some of your experience and introduce yourself to the audience.
Hello, Kyser. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's really thrilling to be here as a guest.
Go ahead and explain, what made you go from just being like a Python programmer into being a bug bounty hunter / web hacker.
The transition was kind of unexpected because I was going on a programmer path and I've learned and mastered Python and I spent a lot of time working on it. It took me 7 years to fully master the programming language, but then I was like, by coincidence, I found a book called Black Hat Python, I guess, and that book introduced me to hacking using Python. And I started thinking of experimenting more with what I can do with this skill. So after I finished reading that book, I considered trying hacking and learning about like how to hack stuff and all that. But I had a very wrong image about hacking at first, and I thought it's really cool and very easy to do and all of that because that's the image we've always seen in movies and on the internet and all that. I started learning the basics of hacking. Then after building a strong foundation, I started doing bug bounty hunting because later on I was introduced to bug bounty hunting, which is how to hack on websites or web applications in legal ways. So I started doing bug bounty hunting, and then I thought why not start a company? If I'm really doing this and I really love what I do, then I should help others. Then I should solve a problem. So I started No Breach last year. We offer services like pentesting. We are all about offensive security. So we offer pentesting services for all business size, like whoever wants to test their web application or their infrastructure, depending on their needs, we do it for them. We also offer training for students or people who want to transition into cybersecurity.
Does No Breach do web application assessments and network pen tests, or just like web hacking only?
We do web application assessments and network scanning and all that.
What are some of the best resources to learn web hacking? If someone wants to become a web hacker, what's the best place to start?
Well, the best place to start is actually by trying to experiment with everything. Well, now it's really easy to start learning because information is everywhere. It's really easy to find information nowadays. But the problem is how to use that information because it's really overwhelming. You don't know what to do with what you have. So I wouldn't recommend like spending a long time reading books because that's what everybody did before. Maybe not everybody, but that's what I did. And I think that for someone to start hacking, they need to learn the basics. So for me, resources is just Google everything, Googling everything, trying to make researches is really helpful because let's take for example if you're trying to learn what a specific vulnerability is, you need to learn a lot about it. If you want to learn what IDOR is, you need to figure out how IDOR works and how people actually deliver attacks and how people actually exploit that vulnerability. So what you need to do is to gather as much as you can information. Try to search for everything. I try to be open to everything. So don't rely on one source. Like, don't rely on just YouTube videos. Don't rely on just reading articles. Do everything. Read the articles and watch the videos and solve the labs and do all of that. So it's really worth it.
Yeah, I agree with you on the book part. Like the books, I've read a few hacking books, and I feel like I didn't get a lot of value out of them. Like I feel like I definitely get you definitely get way more value out of them if you're doing the hands-on activities because some of those books have hands-on activities, but even then, I felt like the hands-on activities are were kind of outdated, and I found a lot of success in going after certifications and doing like try
Yes.
hack me and hack the boxes. Really, where I learned my web hacking skills.
The best way to start learning is by trying. The best way to start learning is to trying to apply what you've learned. If you read something or watch a video, like try doing some labs, try playing some CDF. It introduces you to the world of hacking, even though it's not really so effective because CDF is not like real hacking. It's really different, and hacking in real life is really complicated, but it still introduces you to that.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. CTFs are way different than real world pen testing because the thing with the CTF is, there's a vulnerability there and there's a solution to it. When you're doing real world hacking and you're doing real pen testing, it's like, does this have a vulnerability? You don't know. It may or may not. It might have several vulnerabilities that you can exploit. And sometimes you don't always win in the real world. And whereas CTFs is like there is a way to get in here, and in real world pen testing, it's like this could be a pretty secure system. There might not be a way in here, or maybe
Hmm.
there is, but it's above your skill level. So yeah, it is way different for sure. I still think CTFs are a good training platform. I think they're the best hands-on
Hmm.
activities you can do to prepare you for the real world, but they definitely don't simulate the real world 100%.
Yes, because using online labs like Hacksbox, TryHacky, or WebGo to practice hacking offers the practice of hacking in a safe environment. For someone just starting out learning the basics, not skipping the basics, like studying about common vulnerabilities and combined with hands-on practice and continuous learning will allow them for a good start. To make a great start and great way of breaking into hacking.
Great advice. So let's go ahead and get into our rapid fire discussions before we get too far in the episode here. Noah will have 30 seconds to answer 5 questions, and if she answers all 5 questions in 30 seconds, she'll get a bonus 6 question. Noah, are you ready?
Yes, I'm totally ready.
Your time will start after I stop asking the first question. Here we go. What is the most concerning cyber breach so far?
I think the latest CrowdStrike incident.
What operating system is your personal computer?
I use both Linux and Windows.
Best advice for aspiring hackers?
Start doing it today. If you want to become a hacker, you're already a hacker. Just try to think out of the box.
Least favorite part of the job?
Um, I don't know, maybe dealing with stakeholders.
Most critical security vulnerability today?
I think authentication issues.
That was about 48 seconds, so a little over 30, but great responses. Let's go ahead and talk about the CrowdStrike thing, because that was just broke a few days ago. For the listeners and watchers of this episode, it's going to be about a month ago, because I'm about a month ahead in my recordings, but it's still good to talk about regardless. So you said it's the most concerning cyber breach so far. I think the reason why you said that is because there's been reports saying that it's the biggest IT outage in the history of the world.
Exactly.
I don't know if that's super factual, but I think there's a lot of validity there. So is that why you think it's the most concerning cyber breach so far? Even though it technically wasn't a cyber breach, it was more of a misconfiguration / redundancy issue.
Yes, well, technically it's not a breach because no data was exposed or anything like that. But what is so concerning is that because of it, a lot of services has been disrupted and a lot of services have been down and a lot of areas got affected. Like in airports, I think, offices, a lot of companies got affected by that. And that's really serious because I've heard that some hospitals and healthcare industry, a lot of things got affected. So it's really concerning because the effect of it was really wide. So even though there was no data breached or anything like that, sometimes if a service is down and no one is able to access it, that's horrible. That's a very horrible incident.
Right, yeah, and like it wasn't a cyber breach, like you said, no data was exfiltrated, and there wasn't really an attacker either. But it kind of highlights the fact that if there was an attacker,
Mm-hmm.
like a cyber attack could cause that level of outage for the whole world, and potentially even worse. Like it could get worse than that. And I made a meme the other day. It was basically like saying that this is the biggest IT outage in the history of the world so far, because I really do think that it is going to get worse the more we are interconnecting our devices to each other around the world. The more prone we are to this type of situation, and the more prone we are to this type of situation, the more likely we are to experience threat actors, trying to take down civilization through computer breaches and hacks. Okay, so let's get into what are you finding the most on web hacking today? So what's some common vulnerabilities that you're seeing that's pop up more often than the other ones?
Well, as for web applications, we have GraphQL issues. We have GraphQL flaws, we have authentication issues are really rising, and IDORs. Experts are saying that the number one vulnerability and most commonly found is IDOR. But then there's authentication issues like authentication bypass, authorization issues, and then I think GraphQL is not everyone's going to think about it. Like, not everyone is going to think that there might be issues with GraphQL exposing like data and information. Other thing I'd say pentesters are really paying attention to is the exposure of information in errors or stack traces by applications. So sometimes a misconfigured web application or a web application that is not securely coded might expose a lot of useful information, valuable information to an attacker through its error messages. So personally, that's what I've been finding. As it really depends on what you're working on. Sometimes people are doing like source code auditing. It depends on what they're doing. But for me, as for web application hacking or web application assessment, I list them. So it's IDOR, authentication bypass, and then authorization issues and info exposure through stack traces or error messages.
Nice. And you mentioned GraphQL, and that's a funny story because my first ever web app assessment that I was put on was GraphQL. And I'll be honest with you, I didn't know anything about GraphQL before I got put on that. I'm like, I never even heard the word or term GraphQL in any like certification exam or any training that I did on Try Hack Me, Hack the Box. I'm like, man, I've learned a lot of hacking things, And then, I get on my first web app and it's like GraphQL. I'm like, what's GraphQL? I have no idea what this is. Can you explain what GraphQL is and like where you could figure out like how to exploit GraphQL? Or like what are the resources to learn how to exploit GraphQL?
Many applications nowadays uses GraphQL. GraphQL is a pure language for APIs. It's a runtime for executing those queries. So it allows clients to request only the data they need, making it more efficient, let's say flexible, compared to traditional REST APIs. So with GraphQL, you can specify exactly what data you need. Like clients can make requests specific fields, making responses more compact and reducing the overfetching of data. So GraphQL is generally a strongly typed scheme. So GraphQL uses a type system to describe the data, which helps in validating queries against the scheme before execution. And one cool thing about it, it allows the real-time data with so GraphQL supports real-time updates through subscription. So GraphQL, by the way, is developed and maintained by Facebook, and it has become popular for building efficient and flexible APIs. So reason why I found that GraphQL issue is because I was testing on APIs. So if you're paying attention to APIs, you can find the GraphQL vulnerabilities.
Okay, yeah, that's good to know. I was glad you unpacked that a little bit because my next question was going to be, why would someone pick GraphQL over a traditional API? So thanks for answering that. So I'm going to switch topics a little bit on you here. So you speak at events, and I'm curious on how does one become a speaker at an event, and more importantly, how could someone come up with a topic to speak about if they want to speak at an event, but they have no idea what to talk about?
So it depends on the theme of the event. So if the event is a hacking conference and there's gonna be some hackers, or it's a hackathon, like I've been always present in hackathons. I've been speaking in conferences and conducting workshops to train the hackathon participants. So it depends on what you are doing, and it depends on the message that you want to deliver. For me, coming up with a topic is more like coming up with a story that you want to tell. So, for example, last time I was speaking at Hack for IoT event, which is a hackathon but designed to hack on IoT devices. In my workshop, I was thinking about what kind of information I would like to present, what kind of message I want to deliver. So I started talking about hacking incidents, what happened before, and how vehicles and appliances and wearable devices got affected by IoT vulnerabilities. So if you are going to come up with a topic, you need to gather a lot of information, do your homework, and tell a story. So I told the story of the famous Jeep hack that happened in 2013, I guess, and that was really compelling because people didn't know about it. People didn't know that happened. So if you want to keep them interested, to keep the audience interested, and to teach them something, you need to tell a story. Tell them a story they did not hear before, and that will make everything later on easier for you as a speaker because you have this story to tell and what we learned from it. So that's my go-to method. I keep my presentations really short because I want to tell the story, and I don't want them to be so focused on the slides and the data and numbers on the slides. So I just use more visual elements and do the speaking more than just cluttering the presentation behind you. That can be a little overwhelming for new speakers or the audience.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. Like I've seen presentations and you'll see the slide and there's like a bar chart, a pie chart, all these numbers and bullet points, and you're just like
Yeah,
they're trying to read those
no.
while simultaneously listening to the speaker, and it's hard. It's hard.
Most people don't even read it. Yeah, so most people don't even read that They just stare at it. They can like turn on their cameras and take a photo of it, but they're not even interested in data. They're not going to do the analyzing thing for you. They just want to hear like, what is your point? What is the point of all of this? So they won't really be so interested in numbers.
That's great advice. Yeah, maybe maybe just put a picture up of a beautiful sunset and then just talk away. What advice would you give to someone who is considering starting their own cybersecurity company or wanting to become a freelancer?
Well, for someone to start a company in cybersecurity, it's a lot of hard work. So if you are coming from a technical background like me, so you have that foundation to start from. If you are not, then you need to do like market research and try to understand what kind of solution you're going to provide, what kind of services you're going to provide, what is happening right now. Like you have to, at least if you're not a technical person, you need to stay so up to date. You need to learn about what happened recently, read the news, read articles, and build a good connection, like network with people who are in the industry, people who are already doing the technical stuff. And if you are coming from a technical background, that's gonna make things a little easier for you because you're going to understand how things are working. And of course that would naturally make you so active and up to date. And well, for technical people, I would advise them to work on their soft skills. And for non-technical people, I would advise them to work on their technical skills a little to at least have the required knowledge. But generally, starting a company today in cybersecurity is really scary, really daunting, but totally worth it.
So what makes it really scary and really daunting? Is it like trying to find work to do, like trying to find customers, trying to find clients? Is that what makes it hard, or is it deeper than that?
Well, what makes it really scary is building that trust, building a brand that people would trust. So if you are going to provide pen testing services, why would someone ever buy from you? Why would they agree to you? Are you really caring about the quality of your solutions? Did you think a lot about what they need? Like, are you meeting the requirements of clients? So the scary part is trying to meet the requirements, ensure that your solutions are high quality. Like you need to build trust. You need to show what you're capable of as a company. You need to stand out. You need to do something different, and at the same time you have to, it's a big risk to take, but there is a solution for everything. So if you are a creative person and you're thinking creatively, you can find solutions, and people would definitely go for you because you are providing them with what they need. So the scary part for most entrepreneurs or people who are starting a company in cybersecurity is they're still lost. They're thinking what to provide, what solution will they design, what do they need to provide. If you've already figured out what you want to provide, that's a good start, because from there you would develop, you will evolve, and you would improve your services if they are already existing. You would improve those ideas. And
Great advice. Thanks for sharing that. And so the next topic I want to get into is your podcast. So you started the Hackers Line. Can you talk about that for a little bit?
yeah, the Hackers Line. The Hackers Line is actually the quickest podcast launch because it happened really unexpectedly. Like, um, I was just I was just working. I was I don't know what I was doing actually, but I was just doing some boring stuff, and then I thought of, why not add some fun to my life? Why not start a podcast? And then I was thinking, what kind of podcast would it be? I would just do what I love, so it's about hacking. And then I saw that I've learned from great people in the industry, hackers, like Frederick Alexanderson or Robo Van Rie, those big names in bug bounty hunting that I was really big fan of. And then I've been like imagining the final results, how it would be if I invited them, and it happened really quick. Happened. I still don't know how it happened actually, but yeah, it was a really cool story because it happened really quick. And actually, I'm very new to podcasting things, but I think it takes a lot of courage to do something like that. But yeah, yeah, I really enjoy being a podcaster, and the Hackers Line is a really great experience for me.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm a new podcaster too. This is the 11th episode. Definitely, not in my comfort zone to do these recordings, and it's kind of stressful sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you feel less stressful when you're the guest and not the host? Because when I was on your podcast, it was like easy for me. I was like, all I have to do is just answer the questions, and that's it. And then when I'm in this seat as the host, it's like I got to come up with the questions and carry the conversation. So do you feel the same way, or how do you feel about being a guest compared to the host?
Well, I think being a guest is much easier than hosting because when you're hosting, you're so worried about how things will go. So you're worried about how things will go wrong. And for me personally, I've been in those situations where I was just recording and then I don't know, my PC like completely got automatically turned off, and I don't know why. And that was not just some ill luck. Uh, Besides, it's a technical issue, but it was, oh god, I was really embarrassed because I was already having my guest, and he was like waiting, and I was like, hold on, I'm just trying to reboot my PC. So being the host is big responsibility, I guess.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's definitely hard to do, but it's fun to do. So I definitely encourage people to make content. And yeah, I appreciate you inviting me onto your show, and I had a good time. And I think I was a better speaker in your podcast than I was my own podcast because, like you said, it's a lot more stressful being the host, in my opinion. So I'm glad we could talk about that, especially getting that on my podcast because yeah, not a lot of podcasts out there. So it's nice to have that in common with you.
Yes, I totally enjoyed having you as a guest, and I am now really enjoying being a guest in your podcast. It's really fun, and I like talking about web hacking and hacking in general. So it was really a great topic, and your entire idea of making the hacker's case, is it the hacker's case? The entire idea of making a podcast is really great because you're sharing knowledge, and you're connecting with experts who are willing to share knowledge, which is really great. We need hacking podcasts. I would love to drive and just listen to like hacking news and all that. That feels so relevant to me, and I'm sure that a lot of people are 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 relating to this. I'm sure a lot of people are enjoying the idea of listening to hacking podcasts. So yeah, congratulations on your launch. It's an amazing idea.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's the goal. I literally just made the podcast that I wanted to listen to, and hopefully other people find value in it. I know there's a lot of people that's already reached out, so they've liked these episodes. So at this point, I just gotta keep at it and keep providing value. And for me, like I'm learning. I feel like the my guests know about hacking more than I do, so I'm learning from the guests too. And recording the conversations and having the world learn the same thing I'm learning is very powerful. It makes the world more secure, in my opinion.
Exactly. That's how I feel too. When I interviewed you, we talked about certifications that day, and you have no idea how much it helped me understand more things about certifications. So so I think being a host and inviting people and talking about topics, they would definitely help you and help listeners because that's where the exchange of information happens. We're continuously learning. I've never So we're experts, but we shouldn't call ourselves experts because Oh man, we're learning every day. Like my last guest said, we're experts in getting stuck. So we're stuck the entire time, and we need help ourselves. So yeah, I think it's really beneficial for us to host a podcast.
Yeah, and for the listeners and viewers of this episode, you don't actually have to start a podcast and record. You can get the same value by just reaching out to people and asking, questions on like, hey, what do you do? How do I get in the field? Or whatever you want to know. Cybersecurity professionals are more than willing to share information. And I think if you just reach out and ask people questions, they're gonna answer, more times than not because our field is really good about sharing information sharing. That's really like the hacker spirit. The hacker spirit is like sharing information and teaching the community at large. So definitely don't be afraid to reach out to people and just have a conversation because it's actually kind of easy to reach out to people and get information out of them.
Exactly. I agree. I totally agree with you.
So I'm going to go to our final question, which is do you have any additional cybersecurity hot takes or hidden wisdom you would like to share?
Well, for me personally, I don't think I have a lot to add up, but I would say I have like this this motto which I've learned recently, and it is hacking or starting hacking is not just about being extremely perfect at hacking. So it requires creativity, a lot of creativity. So being creative in hacking is essential because hacking is a mindset, and it's not just like finding vulnerabilities and all that. That's the technical part, but trying to change your mindset. If you're new, everything will seem really complicated to you. Once you're done with try hackney, you'll face the real world, which is really complicated. So don't be scared. We've all been at that point where we felt like we're not going anywhere, but you're actually allowing yourself to grow. So when you feel stuck, you're really growing there. My advice would be something like stay creative. Stay creative if you're doing hacking because most good hackers are really creative minds. They're so perfect at thinking out of the box and all of that. So yeah, I've been trying also to apply that in my work, trying to be more creative and trying to connect with creative people. That really helped me. I would advise people to collaborate with others if they are ready to collaborate, which is really, really great when you're just starting out. You will learn and you will teach at the same time, and that's totally going to pay off later on.
Great advice. Thanks for sharing. Where can the audience get a hold of you if they want to connect with you?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can message me anytime. You can ask me any questions. You can read my articles on Medium. I am I am writing like sometimes I write about technology, sometimes I write about other topics, but I'm pretty active on Medium. You can find me on Spotify on my podcast. That's it. You can find me on Twitter too, but I'm mostly active on LinkedIn.
Great. Yeah, that's me too. I have accounts on pretty much everything, but I'm on LinkedIn all the time. Like there's people that send me Discord messages and I just don't see them until like 2 weeks later. But
Yes.
yeah, so audience, if you want to get a hold of me, best place for me is LinkedIn as always.
Thank you for inviting me. It is really great collaborating and working with you. And I'm looking forward in meeting you in person, like maybe at some conference, or if you ever thought of coming to Tunisia. So that would be nice.
Yeah, the feelings mutual likewise. So yeah, thanks for joining the show and thanks for sharing your experience. And yeah, I think the audience got a lot of value out of this. I got a lot of value out of this. So thanks for coming and thanks for sharing your insights.
No, thank you for inviting me. It was really fun talking to you.
All right, audience, thank you so much for hanging out. Thanks for watching. If you haven't reviewed the podcast already, give it a 5-star review. That's the best way to support the podcast right now. So if you want to support the podcast, just leave a review, and that's what helped the most. So thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And this is Kyser signing off.